formula to the a f b x minus h plus k. Now that is the formula. We're not going to add any more variables to it. Okay, and it looks like there's a lot of variables. But you know we've done each one separately. What does A do? It's vertical stretches, right? Up and down. Okay. Let's write this down. So A is a vertical stretch. We'll say by A. So what that means is you multiply by whatever A is. What does B do? Look at that. Horizontal. Go away. Go away. There you go. Horizontal stretch by. What number do you multiply by? 1 over B. That is the trick here. It's the only trick in transformations. Everything else, you just kind of, it tells you what to do. The B value, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. What does H do? Left or right? We call those translations, horizontal translations, but left to right works. And K is up and down. Or vertical translations. Up and down is much simpler. Okay, now, what if you combine all these together, which we're going to do? So here's our graph, little half circle. Sketch the image of the function after horizontal stretch by a factor of 3, followed by a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Okay, horizontal stretch by a factor of 3. What am I multiplying by? Three. Remember, when they say the factor, that means multiply, essentially. That is the number you're multiplying by. If I said, what is the B value, you would say 1 over 3. Okay. So we multiply all the x values by 3. So this 2 moves to 6. This -2 moves to -6. So when you do that first part, you get the blue graph. But we're not done because we're doing 2 different things here. Then they ask us to do a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. So what am I multiply by? 2. Vertical stuff is just that number. Then I multiply all the vertical things by 2. X-intercepts will stay the same, but this 2 here will move up to 4. Do a different color. So my new final graph looks like that. Rather poorly drawn, but we're okay. Okay. Now, what if we do the same graph, but we flip the order that we're doing it in? So we do the vertical stretch first. Okay, well, vertical stretch, that moves up to 4. And I get that. And then I do the horizontal stretch by multiplying by 3. So then these x-intercepts move out to 6 and -6. Does the order matter? Did I get the same graph? You get the same graph. Okay, so the order does not matter. No. May I flip the page, please? We're not going to do the one at the bottom because the order doesn't matter there either. Okay. Same graph, little half circle, semicircle. Sketch the image of the function after vertical translation of 2 units down. So what do I do with the graph? Just move every point 2 units down. So that moves to there, that one goes to there, and that goes there. So there's that bit in orange. Then we do a vertical stretch. Vertical. Do I have to flip anything? No. Find a factor of 3. So what do? I multiply all the y values by 3. At the origin, the y value is 0. This has a y value of -2 times -3 goes to -6. Same with that one. So we get this graph. That's my final graph, the blue one. Okay. You're about right? B. Same graph. We're going to flip the order that we do things in. So now we're going to do the vertical stretch by 3 first. So multiply all the y values by 3. So 2 goes to 6. Those are 0. So I get that thing, cone head thing. And then I have to move it 2 units down. Right? Then we do a vertical translation 2 units down. So we move it down 2 units. So I get this graph. Is that the same as the one above? So does the order matter? Yes, it does. How do you know when the order matters and when the order doesn't matter? Okay. Now, here's when the order does not matter. If you do 2 translations, which are side, like moving it side or up and down, okay? Or you just do 2 stretches, expanding it vertically or expanding it horizontally. Or you do a translation and a stretch at right angles to one another are combined. So that means if you do a vertical stretch and a horizontal translation. Okay. So it does matter when you do a translation and a stretch in the same direction. In other words, you vertically stretch it and then you shift the graph. Okay? Don't memorize any of this. Okay? There's a way easier way to do it. Remember this. You guys remember BEDMAS? Right? Now we don't have brackets, so we're not going to worry about that. But do you do multiplication or addition subtraction? Multiplication division or addition subtraction first? Which one comes first? Multiplication. We follow basically BEDMAS. You do. Your stretches, which are the vertical stretch, you're multiplying by your A value, or horizontal stretch, you're multiplying by your B value, multiplying. Then you do your reflections, and then you do the translations, which are side to side. But the reality is, these first two can be done together, right? Because what does a reflection mean? What does it mean that the A or B value is? It's negative. So you just multiply by the negative. So you just do, this is just multiplying by A or 1 over B, because the B value. And then the translations are the H and K. If you remember that, you'll get every single question right. If you do the correct multiplications. Okay? But you always do your stretches and reflections, and then you do your translations. Okay, now we're gonna look at graphs and we're gonna tell me what we did. So we're going from A to B. Tell me the order and what we have done. So looking at these graphs, how am I going to get this A graph to face that way? Right now it's facing that way. How do I get it to face that way? Yeah, if you flip it that way, right? Okay, so that'd be the first step. Because there's no expansion vertically or horizontally because it's the same width, essentially. So first would be to flip reflect over the y-axis. So if I do that, I get this. Now how do I get this graph to there? I need numbers. Up 3 and left 2. Everybody agree with that? So if we go up 3, left 2. Okay? All right. That's all you have to say. If I ask you how to get from A to B, you just have to say that. Flip over Y, up 3, left 2. Done. And you have to go in that order. Okay. This first. This has to go first. Okay. Okay. We're going to go from box A to box B. In the correct order. Or to rectangle B. Square A to rectangle B. So what's the first thing you notice about the difference between A and B? It's stretched. How is it stretched? Horizontally. So this has a width of 4 little thingies, 4 units, whatever you want to call it. This has a width of 8. So what have we done? Horizontal stretch by 2. Okay. So that essentially means you multiply all the x values by 2. So it expands the box to this. You don't have to draw this in because I'm going to erase it when I'm done. So now you get that. Or you can do it in pencil, I guess. Now, how do I get that from where it is to where B is? So down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 7, and then over, what did you say? 4? Yep. Then we go down 7, left 4. And the reason I'm just writing them like this and not like 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter the order you use. You don't need the translations, and it doesn't matter the order if you go left first and then down, or down and then left. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's how we go from A to B. Now we're going to go from A to C. What do I need to do first? Vertical stretch by 2. Then what? How many up and how many over? Left 2? If I go left 2, right there, right? Left 6, and then up 4. Left 6, up 4. Yeah. You're good. Yeah. Last one. We're going from D, C. What do we need to do? Exactly what you want to do. This one's a little tricky. So we can flip it over y is equal to x, okay? Basically, you're doing an inverse. And then you're going to move it. So I can just draw these points. So here's the points. When you do an inverse, everything switches, right? So 0, -5 is going to go to -5 and 0. That's 0, -9 is going to go to -9 and 0. Everybody with me so far? This point right here is, what is that? That's 6, 7, 8. -8, -5 is going to go -5. -8, -5 is going to go -5, -8. And then the other one will go to that point right there. So that's what happens when you do an inverse. You get that. Now you have a couple choices here. How can you get to the other one? From that position, the orange box or orange rectangle. So you can go 1 up 4, up 8. So you could go, you go 1 right and up 8. Does everybody see that? Another way you can do it. Yeah. You could flip it like that and then go 1 to the right. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. So flip over x-axis and then go 1 right. Either way, you end up at C. That one's a bit tricky because you got to see if you can see the inverse initially, but let's try questions 1 and 2, please. Okay. In the first one, f of 3x minus 4. What have I done and what order do I go in? So what is the first thing I have to do? First of all, okay, what values do we have? What do the 3 and the negative 4 represent? What letters in our general formula of a, f, b, x minus h plus k? What does the 3 represent? B, okay? And the negative 4 is k. All right. So that, what does the b do? What does the 3 do? Just in words, what does it do? It's a horizontal stretch, okay? And then we have negative 4, which is down 4. Okay. So we do the stretch first, right? The multiplying. Horizontal stretch by, i.e., what do we multiply by? 1/3, right? Remember? By 1/3. You flip the b value. That's the number you multiply that by. So it's a horizontal stretch by 1/3. And then what's the second thing we do? We go down 4. Okay. Second one. A lot of stuff going on here. So what should we do first? The vertical? It doesn't matter. You can do horizontal or vertical. It doesn't matter the order of those two. So you can do A or B. So we'll do the vertical. So it's a vertical stretch by 1/3. Yes. What's the negative tell you? And the reflection. And flip over x axis. Those can be done at the same time because essentially you're multiplying by -1/3 for y values. 2. What's the next thing we do? Horizontal stretch by 3/2. Yes. Horizontal stretch by 3/2. Now, you could have done those in either order. It doesn't matter if you do this first, vertical stretch, or vertical and horizontal. That doesn't matter. But what has to go last is left 2. That's our h value, right? And what makes it 0 in there? So then we go left 2 units. All right, so now we're putting it all together. Okay, is that okay? We're going to practice it again right now. So we're going to skip that lesson. We're done. Just walk away from it. We're going to go to lesson number 2 of transformations on page 139. Is that right? Okay. We're going to do it with a graph now. So we have our parabola. That's what we've done to it. So we're going to sketch this. Okay. So first of all, let's write out everything that we've done. So A equals B equals, it's not C, it's H and K. Okay, what's my A value? 2. What does that mean? Vertical stretch by 2. You're multiplying all your y values by 2. All right, what's my b value? The b value is the number in the function. Literally, there's b, there's b. So your b is 1/2. What does that mean? Horizontal stretch by 2. That's when you flip it. Okay. What is my h value? The actual value of it. What makes the inside of that this 0? So it's -5, which means what? Left 5. And then my k, -8, and that means down 8. Okay. Basically, you can go in the order of A, B, H, and K. Just as a side note, this book, when we do trigonometry transformations, calls them A, B, C. Why don't we just call them C? In the grade 11 book, they call them P and Q. I mean, it doesn't matter the letter, it's the location, but it'd be nice if they were consistent. Anyway, okay, so we're going to do the vertical stretch first. So we multiply all our y values by 2. So multiply all the y values by 2. What's that going to do to the graph? Just physically, what's it going to do to the graph? If I multiply all the y values by 2, it's going to stretch it up, right? It's going to get like skinnier. So this here from 1 to 2, you don't have to do all of them. Just do that. And I'll tell you what I will expect at the end. That's the first step, step 1. Then we do step 2. Do it in a different color. 2. Is horizontal stretch by 2. So now you multiply all the x values by 2. So it's going to pull it apart of the new graph, right? Of this blue one. So this value here is at 1. Now moves to 2. -2. Then the graph gets a little wider. That's step 2. And then these last 2 can be done at the same time, right? We'll just call this step 3. Because it's easier if you just do them at the same time. When you're moving, especially a parabola or an absolute value graph that has a clear vertex, so we're going to go left 5, down 8. And for a parabola graph, that's all I'm going to expect. It's hard to represent the width of it and all that kind of stuff. So there's your final graph. Okay. I would like you to do question number 1, A and B. That's it. Tomorrow we will pick this up. Tomorrow we're going to finish this unit. We have 2 hours tomorrow, 2:10 or something. 2 hours, I don't know. So we will do, basically you can view tomorrow as a review almost. I mean, we still have a little bit of this to do, but it's more of this kind of stuff. And we're going to practice moving some points, which isn't in the book, but I have a sheet that we can do on that. So yeah, tomorrow will be a review. I'll go over what's going to be on the test on Monday. Tell you what you should probably write on your study guide. And that'll be that. Well, we're not at the end of the first week yet. We're almost there. And my apologies for talking so much today. Although maybe it's the same.